PH, and it's the weekend of the Southern Festival of Books here in Nashville, and I'm talking to Chad Harbach, who is the author of The Art of Fielding. So thank you so much for talking to me and talking to book page readers.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll just jump right into it since Chad's session starts in about 20 minutes. So in your book, the main action, the plot really gets rolling when Henry, the shortstop, makes a bad throw, and suddenly he can't throw straight anymore. Do you have any abilities that you would hate to, you're afraid that you would, wake up and not be able to do anymore?
Wow, tough question right off the bat.
Like write another best-selling novel?
Yeah, like write another novel. That's the obvious one because, when in writing the book, I played baseball growing up, and I played baseball in high school, but of course I was not nearly as good a player as Henry, and a lot of the time when I'm talking about baseball in the book, and a lot of the time when I'm thinking about the crisis that Henry goes through, I'm thinking about writing, being a writer, and the sort of struggle, because Henry sort of struggles with self-doubt, and with the sort of inability to do the thing that he loves, and that's what, as a writer, one goes through that on a pretty much
definitely
not quite daily basis.
Especially if you're working on a project for a long time.
10 years, for instance.
Well, here's another hard-hitting question. This, your panel that you're on today at the festival is called Boys' Lives, and this is a book about male friendship and male love, and there is a counterpoint to the male perspective in Pella, who's the college president in the book's daughter, who's one of the main characters. But it is, kind of a guy's book, I guess. And there has been a bit of buzz in the past few years about books that are, supposedly appeal to men being more important than books that supposedly appeal to women, or that male writers are more, taken more seriously than women writers. And I was wondering, when you were writing this book, did you have an intended audience? Now that you've been on the road for a while, do you feel that it's resonating with male and female readers, the same?
Well, yeah, I definitely feel that it's resonating with male and female readers the same. I've gotten just a lot of great feedback from women, and probably one of the first and also the best bits of feedback that I've gotten was as soon as I finished the manuscript, and I sent it to a couple of my friends to read before I even started to submit it to agents or anything. And so I gave it to a close friend of mine, and he and his girlfriend started to sort of read it simultaneously. And she became just incredibly absorbed in it, and raced ahead of him, and shoved him out of the way, so that at first he was giving her the pages, but then she jumped ahead so that she could get there first. And then she got 2/3 of the way through the book, and she turned to her boyfriend, and she was like, "I just have one question: what is a shortstop?" So she was really engrossed in the book, without really knowing anything about baseball at all. So that's the nicest compliment.
Yeah, it is, this has been kind of beaten to death already in articles about this book, but it is about baseball, clearly, but it's also, a love story and a friendship story. But I was thinking of this question when I was watching baseball the other night, and that new Dr. Pepper ad came on, that its tagline is, "It's not for women," and I wondered, is this book, is it for women? Or,
what does that mean?
I guess it is, it has, apparently men don't drink diet drinks, according to Dr. Pepper's market research.
Yeah, they don't drink diet drinks and they don't read books.
But women do read books about baseball. I interviewed another author recently who essentially told me that she hates going on tour because she's written several books now, and readers ask a lot of the same questions, and you have to find some place to eat, and it's a pain, and the hotels are all the same. And I was wondering, since this is your first book and your first tour, is it really exciting for you? And what's it like to meet and talk to readers who care about these characters that have, primarily existed in your mind for so long?
Absolutely. That's really the beautiful part of it, is that, for so many years I was kind of such close friends with these people who are in the book, and you sort of feel like a crazy person because you have all these imaginary friends that you never get to talk to at all. So certainly I think it's a lot of fun to just be able to go out and listen to people talking about these people as if they were real people. So that's for me, that's the best part of it. and the rest of, and like when you travel around from place to place, like some days you want to be there and it's a lot of fun, and some days you'd rather be home in your office,
Yeah. Well, another conversation I've had with some other writers is that once their book is out in the world, it's like their mind is in another place from with those characters, because maybe they're working on a new project, or they read their own book all the way through for the last time months ago, something like that. And I wondered if that was the same for you, or if these characters are still really alive and present with you, and if you're kind of imagining their lives off the page, what they might be doing after the story ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm having a hard time putting them away entirely. I mean, on the one hand, I'm very glad to be finished with the book after all this time. But it's true that I run a magazine called N+1 that some friends of mine and I started. And so in the several months since I finished the book for real, I've spent a lot of my time like working on N+1. And so I've had these other projects going. But yeah, I have not quite. I've heard other writers say the similar thing. Like the moment they turn in the book, those people are dead to them. They never think of them again. But I'm a little bit too attached. I haven't gotten to that phase.
Well, I wondered if it's hard not to see a parallel between the story of the shortstop and your own story as a writer, and I wondered if you are writing fiction, or when you go back to it, if you are going to need a Schwartz-like character to, make you run those bleachers or whatever, if you have the discipline to...
Yeah, well, I think in part that's where Schwartz comes from in the first place, is that, I think for a writer, that like the sort of, the really structured world in which an athlete lives, like can seem really appealing when you're a writer who's just like on your own pretty much. And, like, so, this sort of like, of course if you go get an MFA, you like take writing workshops and you have professors and you have friends who are writers, but that sort of intense mentorship is a lot more common in, if you're like a serious baseball player or any kind of athlete than it is as a writer. So I think a lot of times, a writer, you wake up in the morning and you wish that there was someone there screaming at you to like get you to work harder.
Make you drink your energy booster. Well, I have to get in a baseball question, since your team, the Brewers, is playing in the postseason right now. I was wondering if you had any predictions for how it's going to turn out, and if maybe you would think this would jinx things, but what you think the % chance is that you'll see a Milwaukee championship in the same year that you would have a New York Times bestseller.
Oh, well, I think the odds are better than I thought they were a couple of months ago. I mean, I've been a Brewers fan all my life, and but the Brewers have never won a championship. They've been, in Milwaukee for 40 years and have never won. So even as this even as this year was going well, I still have managed to like remain really pessimistic at every turn. But now that they're only 6 little wins away from the championship, now I have to say I think it's going to happen.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. And finally, if you could win a major literary prize, for example, the Pulitzer Prize as a writer, or win a World Series as a shortstop, which would you rather? All things being equal.
I want to win a World Series as a shortstop.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Chad, and if you haven't already, pick up The Art of Fielding.
Thank you.